Noriko Sakai was at among the highest points in her career in 1999. With the turn of the century rapidly approaching, so were many changes in her lifestyle and career. Who was once this innocent and fresh-faced idol as far as the public eye was concerned, was now this sophisticated and mature actress. No longer a cutesy teenager, but a mature woman. Again, as far as the public eye was concerned. Now, as far as Sakai herself was concerned, she had also taken on new roles that were a little more close to home. Quite literally. Because, in addition to career changes, she had also taken on the roles of both wife and mother, one right after another. This was likely the biggest game changer for her thus far, not only in her newfound responsibilities, but also in her appearance to the public. We briefly touched upon this in part 1, but idols becoming married and having children was often a death sentence when it came to their careers. It may sound outlandish, old-fashioned even, kind of dramatic or ridiculous, but it does happen still. Even something as small and trivial as dating somebody for an idol can ruin their careers, especially if they're still teenagers and somewhat young and used for that specific image that the company that's promoting them is, giving them. One notable example just off the top of my head right now is Matsumoto Io. I recall seeing a variety show with her being interviewed in her 40s or 50s, and she actually said that while on a date with a boy, she had to cover herself with a blanket while in his car and going through a toll road like a freeway, just so she wouldn't be spotted and her career wouldn't be ruined. Those are the extreme lengths that idols, especially back in the Showa era, have had to go through simply to keep their careers intact and their images untarnished, as ridiculous as that sounds. Celebrities aside, it's still somewhat common for working women to quit their jobs after marrying or becoming pregnant to assume their new role of housewife. Simply out of cultural expectations. I mean, some may want to and enjoy doing that, which is awesome, but some may simply feel expected to do so. Again, this is becoming less common in recent years, and it was more common back in the old days, I suppose, but it still does happen. Now, add to this the constant scrutiny of being in the public eye when famous. A public that may be a bit infatuated with the attractive and ideal celebrity they have in their head. With that in mind, one could see how being public about starting a family and being married to someone could be rough on their career. That is, if they so choose to continue it. There already was outcry regarding Sakai's now husband, seen by the public as a bad boy and notorious flirt. Rich playboy was another term thrown around in the tabloids a lot. Yuichi Takaso, as he is named and his name is, was basically a foil to Sakai's more innocent and demure appearance. All of that aside though, despite all the scrutiny from fans and tabloids alike, Sakai seemed happy in her marriage and happy as a new mother and wife. In all honesty, the public didn't know anything about their marriage or how they got along as a couple or what they did in their private life. She seemed happy and that should have been all that mattered. Though, I really do mean it when I say that nobody knew what was going on in her private life at this point. We're getting there, I promise. Remember the Noriko brand discussed back in part 1? In the years following her departure from that brand, she did create her own clothing line following this. The clothing brand, Pipi Ricorino, appears to have done well and even saw a crossover with Hello Kitty at one point. Sanrio doesn't collab with just anyone, mind you. The name, Pipi Ricorino itself, is derived from a mixture of Sakai's name, the English word produce, and the Italian word pino, which translates to cute. I do also want to add that this project was funded and supported by Japanese trading company Itochu, a corporation known for being among Japan's largest sogo shoshas, a term for a company dedicated to the trading and distribution of products to the public. So, what's the takeaway from all this knowledge? That Sakai had a lot going for her at the time. However, Sakai did ultimately return to being a singer and actress. Whether or not the public would positively receive this return was yet to be seen. But in what ways did she return? So, Sakai began her involvement in film, drama, and commercials once more. This technically began at the start of 2000 with two separate roles. One being a new drama and the other being voiceover in a Pokemon animated short. The drama was called Tenchi ga Kieta Machi, or the City of Angels, or the City of Pure Souls. This drama starred two male leads and had Sakai in a supporting role as one of the love interests. This was not a role comparable to her prominence in Aoi Usagi, though a strong role nonetheless. Now, Pokemon, on the other hand, was something very popular in the year 2000. By this year, it was all over the place in the West, as well established and loved in its home country since 1997, aside from one minor slip-up. TLDR, and I'm really trying to make this a TLDR because I love Pokemon, this game and anime series had taken Japan by storm in 2000, and her inclusion in one of the shorts was pretty big for that time. What she essentially provided was a narration for the 23-minute short that played before the third Pokemon film, known as Pocket Monsters the Movie, Emperor of the Crystal Tower, Entei, in Japan. This film and short debuted in Japan on July 11th of 2000. That very next year, Sakai was cast in the TV drama Honke no Yome, or My Marriage, though again, Sakai was not in the lead role. That went to Taiwanese singer and actress Vivian Su. In the years following this, Sakai was cast in various roles and had a steady involvement in the entertainment industry. Never quite seeing the success witnessed with Aoi Usagi, but still relevant in Japan. Now, as far as Asian countries outside of Japan, that's a whole other story. Sakai not only retained her success overseas, but grew more so in popularity as the years went on, being especially popular in countries like Hong Kong, Thailand, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Her popularity in these countries far surpassed her success in Japan. Now, don't be fooled, while Sakai didn't see massive success following her marriage, she was cast in one especially prominent lead role, this being for Ju-on the Grudge 2. In this film, she played Kyoko Harase, a famous scream queen or horror film actress filming a TV episode in a cursed home. The film itself wasn't super well received, as critics described the film as repetitive and cheesy in parts. She would perform in a couple other films following this, however. And then there were the commercials. Noriko Sakai would be featured in many commercials in Japan and elsewhere in Asia. She was featured in a tremendous amount of ads during her time as an idol, however, and the amount of ads showcasing her after that were far more modest. That aside, among her biggest commercial partnerships were a series of Toyota ads from the mid to late 2000s. As far as music, where Sakai had her start, she did produce 4 singles after 2000, 2 not making the Oricon singles chart, with the best performing single reaching 42 on the charts. Japanese celebrities are often very private in their, well, private life. Despite that, Sakai was often photographed with Takaso, her husband, throughout the 2000s. One distinct aspect to note was their choice of dress and apparent demeanor when in her normal life as opposed to her image in her various entertainment roles. Take the Toyota ads, for example. Here, she plays a gentle mother. Even the color palette of the commercial itself suggests the theme of a quiet and peaceful family life. I must once again bring up the term sterile here, as I did in part 1. There is actually a term for this type of Japanese entertainer, a term used for the former idol pure housewife type that began being coined during this time. This term being a mamadoru, a combination of mama and idol. Though her demeanor in real life didn't really appear to reflect this, and this was apparent just by the still images and brief glimpses the public got of her and her family. So, what of the marriage itself? In photos, they still looked happy, though these photos of the family together were rather sparse as Sakai was often very busy and not at home. While her various roles weren't huge, she did have a lot of them and was often observed as being very busy and away from home due to entertainment pursuits, often for long periods of time. This is very typical of an entertainer, though Sakai was described as going the extra mile and taking on a lot of work. It was in the late 2000s when some rather odd aspects of their marriage came to light. The most distinguishable of which being an unnamed woman who frequently visited Sakai's homes and was strangely close to Takaso. Much of the time, this woman would visit when Sakai was away. She was often seen with Sakai's son as well and described as being similar in appearance to Sakai herself. Now, one could easily draw conclusions here, especially when Takaso was known as a playboy prior to their marriage. Though, what if I told you that Sakai was well aware of this woman? Well, Sakai was, and this is where it gets a bit bizarre. Sakai was questioned about this woman by tabloids once. Her response was noted as not being concerned. She even laughed it off, claiming this woman was her close friend and quote-unquote like a sister to her. It was suggested that this mystery woman was often called upon to care for her son and that the son was actually quite fond of her. With the combination of statements and sightings, it appeared that this close friend was called upon to care for Sakai's husband and son while she was away fulfilling career obligations. But that's still pretty odd. And it gets even more odd. Following this, it also came to light that this woman would also party with Sakai and Takaso quite frequently. This information was given by some friends of Sakai who were later asked about the woman by media outlets. Not only did Sakai and her husband's partying come to light, which is a scandal-inducing issue in itself in Japan, but more weirdness with the friend came to light as well. Many claim that this woman lived with them full-time and would often vacation with the family. Another statement claimed that Sakai was the one living with the family part-time, that Sakai and Takaso began living in their own separate homes in the late 2000s, that the female friend was the one living with the family permanently. It was also stated by people that the trio would do odd things together. One was bathing together. Now, communal bathing is very much a common thing in Japan. Refer to onsens and bathhouses for more on that. But a married couple and another adult woman in a private home? Nope, not really. Now, given the information I have already provided you guys with, it's possible you've drawn your own conclusions and kind of figured out what this could have been, this situation with the trio. It is very possible that the trio could have been polyamorous, in that they were all just a romantic couple, like as a trio, but I'm not sure if that's the case. In Japan, that wasn't really something that was widely known or understood. Japan today still doesn't really have a firm grasp on a lot of LGBTQ elements, so I'm not sure about that. It could have also been just possible that Takaso was sleeping around with her and Sakai was just, you know, okay with it. She was just kind of done with the marriage and was like, whatever. I'm simply stating what the tabloids I read kind of pictured this whole ordeal as, and just kind of going with that, just kind of presenting it as it was seen then. Anyways, moving on. Even beyond this, it was further confirmed that this family friend was seen to be inappropriately close to Takaso in private. One person who attended one of their parties noticed that Takaso and the friend were very close on the couch. This was in the early morning following the party itself. Their eyes were described as glazed and they appeared out of it. Sakai was also present and paid no mind to them. Instead, according to this witness, Sakai just turned on music and started dancing by herself in that same living room while Takaso and the friend just kind of sat there. So, compared to the Noriko Sakai we've been discussing so far, this was pretty different. With these strange details coming to light, it was clear that the Noriko Sakai the public thought they knew really wasn't her. Now, tabloid gossip and marital issues don't make for a huge scandal in Japan. Nothing life-altering, though what was about to make itself known next definitely was. This is what occurred on August 4th of 2009. The use of illegal substances have extreme repercussions and are very frowned upon in Japan. That's absolutely no secret. And absolutely for good reason. as such substances could literally ruin your life, irreversibly damage or endanger the lives of those around you, and cause irreversible damage to your health or worse. It is a horrendous path to go down. So, just how strict is Japan about such offenses? Now, while some substances are legal in other countries, the use of cannabis is an example of one that is just as illegal as any other illegal substance there is. Basically, Japan's anti-cannabis laws are among the strictest in the world. While this plant definitely has its history in Japan, the country really cracked down on it with a 1942 law. If you have it in your possession in Japan, you are at risk of up to 5 years of imprisonment. They do not mess around, I assure you. Notable examples of this type of possession in Japan include Paul McCartney being arrested for possession of it in Tokyo in 1980. McCartney faced 5 years of struggles preceding this, just trying to get his band Wings the opportunity to just perform in Japan. The country made it so difficult because McCartney was known to have consumed illegal substances in the past. I mean, that's no secret. There's also Saya Takagi, who I've discussed in one of my Lost Media shorts. Takagi was an actress who was blacklisted because she supported the legalization of cannabis in Japan. The various roles she was credited for acting in pretty much wiped from existence due to this. She has a drama that is completely lost now. I can't even find images of it. All because of her stance and opinions on this one topic. Another example is that of Pierre Taki. This Japanese actor is credited with many voice roles, among which was Olaf in the Japanese dub of the movie Frozen. This actor was caught with illegal substances a few years back. Because of this arrest, all of Olaf's lines in the Japanese dub of Frozen were dubbed over by another actor. All because of Taki's now tarnished reputation. And this brings us back to Sakai, as the unapologetic effects of this type of scandal would now apply to her. August 4th of 2009, Sakai's husband was at a public park in the Minato ward of Tokyo. He entered a bathroom that drew the attention of police nearby, though no action was taken that day. It was the very next day, on the 5th, that the suspicion allowed law enforcement to find Takaso's vehicle, now parked in the Shibuya ward, and search the inside. In Japan, just the suspicion that somebody is under the influence of something is enough to search a vehicle, mind you. It was within this vehicle that 0.8 grams of a stimulant were discovered. This gave the Tokyo Metropolitan Police permission to go beyond this and search everything and everyone related to Takaso's family. Most notably, Sakai. Following the vehicle search, Takaso was arrested when they found him walking around Shibuya. This turned to a full-body search, where even more substance was discovered in his undergarments. This further progressed the gravity of the situation. Wasting no time, the police called Sakai directly, requesting that she physically come to the scene in Shibuya. Takaso was immediately brought to the police station. Sakai did show up, and this was when she was told that she would be required to submit various tests to verify if she was also under any influence. In Shibuya, in the face of law enforcement, Sakai agreed, though she had a condition. Sakai explained that her son, now just about 10 years of age, was waiting for her at school, as class was just about to get out. Sakai explained that she had to tend to her son first, and that this was time-sensitive and important that she not leave him alone. Sakai's responsibilities as a mother, the reason why she could not take those tests right now. The police agreed and allowed her to go pick up her son, and agreed that she could return to the station to take those tests by the end of that day. Well, Sakai did pick up her son, though following this was when Sakai fled Tokyo and disappeared. This is where that family friend came back in. It was found that Sakai dropped off her son with this friend before fleeing, so wherever Sakai went, her son did not go with her. Meanwhile, at the station, Takaso immediately confessed that his wife was using stimulants as well. He claimed that they had done so together about a week prior while on a family vacation. The truth behind this is unclear, as around this time it was definitively confirmed that Sakai was not living with Takaso and did in fact have her own separate apartment in Tokyo. Now, this apartment was also searched, and 0.08 grams of the stimulant Takaso also had in his possession were found. This gave authorities the okay to issue a warrant for Sakai's arrest. Now, by this point in time, the scandal had spread like wildfire through Japanese media outlets, with the details of the family's personal life put on blast, including more details involving that family friend. This friend was soon questioned as well, and one infamous detail of said questioning is her essentially going into hysterics, shouting and not complying with the police, essentially described as a tantrum. The fact that Sakai was missing in action added more fuel to the fire. Where did she go? How long did she plan to hide? Would she just remain in hiding, not seeing her child and hoping everything would just go away if she didn't face it? Authorities attempted tracking Sakai through her cell phone, though the phone itself was broken and discarded around Yamanashi Prefecture about an hour outside Tokyo. This phone was thought to have further details regarding Sakai's habit, which is likely why the phone was broken and discarded. The public wouldn't have to wait long for Sakai to surface once again, however. On August 7th, just 2 days following her disappearance, Sakai returned to Tokyo and turned herself in. Sakai was soon questioned regarding what was found at her home. Sakai simply claimed that she was not going to use it and was simply storing it. That same day, a search of the family beach house in Chiba Prefecture found various illegal substances as well, which she also denied using. Takaso, on the other hand, admitting to using all of them found and was met with multiple charges of possession. And those tests that Sakai avoided were finally administered as well. The urine test came out negative, though that was likely because Sakai fled for a couple days and had not taken anything in the days she was missing. When Sakai had returned and turned herself in, it was noticed that her hair color had slightly changed. This was likely due to dyeing it and removing anything that would prove her guilty of any possession or use of substance. Despite this, the hair test did come out positive. And with that positive result, Sakai was officially charged with possession as well. It was a little over 1 month later, on September 17th of 2009, that Sakai was released from prison. Her first task following this was a public press conference with her attorney, and Sun Music president Masahisa Aizawa. Sakai was met with a huge crowd as she publicly apologized for her actions, stating, and I quote, "My weakness caused me to give in to illegal drugs and cause grief to many people. I pledge to repent and atone for this crime for the rest of my life." With that, Sakai vowed to seek help and recover, requesting that she be allowed to do this in private. Sakai never saw prison time for her crime. Instead, she simply received a warning to remain clean to avoid the prison sentence later on in 2012. This is an exceptionally lenient sentence in Japan, though Sakai's many ventures and collaborators would not be anywhere close to this lenient. The first of many cancelled contracts occurred when Toyota immediately pulled all the commercials she was featured in, refusing to work with her moving forward. And her voiceover in that Pokemon short, that one 9 years prior in the year 2000, any and all sales and showings of the short were banned. Copies of the film with her voiceover included were pulled from all store shelves and no longer sold to this day. The original version of the short has not been shown or distributed again following this, not once in the past 14 years. The home video copies of the short that were already sold aren't rare by any means though, and are easily obtainable on sites like eBay. And what of Sakai's clothing line? discontinued immediately and pulled from all store shelves. In 2009, her clothing line consisted of at least 150 unique articles, all removed from stores. Among the biggest fallouts was with her record label Victor, who took action in withdrawing all copies of her CDs from stores on August 9th. This was the day she officially was charged. This caused sales of her singles digitally to skyrocket briefly on stores like iTunes, as well as all her CD releases selling for ridiculous amounts of money on Amazon. Regardless of this, Victor Entertainment broke off any and all partnership and distribution of her music permanently. And it didn't end there. Following her public apology, Sakai was let go from Sun Music, the agency that had represented her since her debut in the mid-1980s. Sun Music had become absolutely clear in their intention of wanting absolutely nothing to do with Sakai from that point forward. Her official webpage was taken down and any pending entertainment connections and opportunities were severed. Sakai was left with no sponsorships, no record label, and no management. The partnerships lost worth literally billions of yen. All of her success and opportunities were gone, just like that, because of her irresponsible and selfish actions. The career and legacy she spent literally decades building had crumbled to ruin in the span of 1 month. It was all gone. One year following all this scandal, Sakai officially divorced Takaso. His influence likely the worst thing to have if genuinely trying to heal and recover. With that influence out of the way, the rest of her recovery was truly on her. But here we are. Did Noriko Sakai take her actions and the consequences of her actions seriously? Did she truly clean up her act and attempt to recover? Well, Sakai has actually taken a genuine proactive route in bettering herself since the scandal. Most notably, she attended college and received a bachelor's degree in welfare and nursing in 2013. This is something she had initiated immediately following the aftermath of the entire scandal. Sakai has also toured around countries like China as an activist against drugs, discussing the many dangers and negative circumstances of using them. Sakai did attempt to return to the entertainment world for a second time in 2012. This was in a small play that saw an audience of 7,000 people. As far as management, Sakai has been associated with a couple small management companies. This included company Nigun Niba. As of 2021, however, Sakai is self-managed by her newly created company Smile. But what is Sakai doing in the present day? What is she involved in? So, as far as a conclusion to the story, as in how Sakai is doing in the present day, an interesting development actually occurred pretty recently. That development being NFTs. Yes, I'm serious. Sakai re-recorded her famous single Aoi Usagi in 2021 and created various NFTs to celebrate this. Now, as far as Takaso, her now ex-husband, he has done absolutely nothing in terms of learning from his mistakes and recovering. In 2010, after he was released from prison, he disappeared on an extended vacation with his parents, making no remark regarding this or saying if he was leaving to clean up his act or just escape the public eye. Takaso would later be arrested and charged with possession yet again, the latest one being in 2020. So, unfortunately, Takaso seems to be involved with the same things that caused this big scandal in 2009. Honestly, when looking into this entire scandal, I really felt the most for her poor son. He was just a child and really did not need to get thrown into all this. Luckily, Yuki hasn't been present online or in the public eye too much following the scandal, and I genuinely hope he experienced a normal and pleasant upbringing following everything that happened. As of this year, he's now well into his 20s and still lives a very private life. There was a very brief sighting of him in a recent social media post by Sakai, but that's about it. You can't even see his face. And again, I'm really happy to see this. So, consider this a tale meant to educate and inform. A tale somewhat cautionary in nature regarding the dangers of Sakai's lifestyle. One that likely hurt her son, those who cared about her, and definitely hurt her entire career and reputation. Also consider this an example of the sterilization of Japanese celebrity, especially idols. How greatly an image can differ from who the person actually is. How fragile that image can be when treated irresponsibly, as with what happened with Sakai. Sakai herself seems to have healed as a person, and that is truly great. While I absolutely cannot relate to Sakai's scandal in any way, I do know for certain that without your health and control over your quality of life, you really don't have much, if anything at all. This is coming from myself, somebody who has struggled with a chronic illness that leaves me largely bedridden. There was a solution for Sakai to improve herself physically, and she took it. Who knows if she would have without this scandal? However, as far as recovering her professional career and the status of a beloved singer and actress, who knows if she'll be welcomed back into that world with the same warmth ever again. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And it is once again that time to thank my beloved and wonderful and completely awesome Patreons. So let's go ahead and get into that. Also, apologies for that shift in tone just now from somber to happy, but you know, it's Patreon time. So, a huge thank you to Akali, Adam Mitchell, Airfire, Alan Achondo, Alice Rose, Anna, Andrew LaPena, Andrew Valencia, Angel Pena, Ashley Rigby, Aurora Phoenix, Beastmen Manor, Beebles32, Bishonen Knife, Brandon Tran, Christopher Valencia, Coffee Red Fox, Courtney Von Schriltz, Daniel Barrientos, Digital Dubs, Donut Brewitt, Dr. Money $69, Dude Bro, Eels, Eli Roca, Ellie L, Anegra J. Reese, Erica, Felix Gonzalez, Flo Ami, Good with a Stain, Grand Tactician, Greedy Guts 78, Gur Elad, Hilari, Ilio, Jawlisser Plays, Gene 187, Jojo, Jolka, Jordy Kirk, Justin Fuda, Judy 18, Kevin, Lauren Marcello, Leon X8, Life on Mars, Lilia Grasso, Linus D98, Megan Nicole, Meek, Medotici, Mercedes Slaughter, Merlin Caliber, Metal Mario 64, Michiru Oji, Mike Master, Misao, Momo Buns, Mr. Anderson, Nicholas Allen, Nicholas Babinu, Nicole Turkowski, Nikki, Oddish Gloom, Omar Ruelas, Orlon the Dog, Otonia, Pan-Fried Life Jacket Awareness, Para, PP Pass Katag, once again, Quetzalcoatl FC, Raz Cohen, C. Chameleon, Shivam Vashi, Soko, Sophia Gillespie, Sidnep, Teofil Zita, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, VHS Vich, Stagio VGM, Vonnie, and Lilycat. Once again, thank you so much guys, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and look forward to the next one. Bye for now!